This video is sponsored by Amalena Children's Haven.
My name is Princess Sheilla, and I'm a mother of 4, 2 sets of twins, ages 3 years and 4 years. And I'm a businesswoman and a student. For the first set of twins, my husband and I had just gotten back from the honeymoon, and we were excited. Actually, we wanted babies right after. So we got to Ghana and he said to me, let's get a test. It's like, okay. We did it and it was positive. 2 thick lines. And I was like, okay, very, very deep lines. So we're excited. We decided to go to the hospital the next day and get a check. So we did a blood test. It was positive. And then the doctor said to us, let's have a scan. We're like, okay. So we did it and we realized there were 2, 3 sacs. She wasn't sure. So she was like, okay, I think you're having twins, triplets, I'm not so sure. So come back after a week or 2. We're like, okay. So we left the hospital really excited. We decided not to tell anyone about it. But my husband called his mom, his dad, his sisters, everyone. I wasn't mad, I promise. So just coping with the pregnancy. And one day I woke up in the morning and I found out I was bleeding, no spots and quite heavy. I was pretty scared. My husband was at work. I called him up and I was like, hey, I think I lost the pregnancy. I started crying for some reason. So we got home, we rushed to the hospital. We didn't meet my doctor there, so we met another doctor and he was like, okay, let's just have a scan. We did it and he confirmed there were 2 sacs in there and that it's only normal to have spotting and light bleeding for, multiple pregnancies. So he asked us to see the doctor, my gynae, the next day. And I was lucky to have a good doctor, Dr. Charles Bachman. He's very good. So the next day we went to see him and he did a scan again. And he was like, oh, they are fine. You're having twins. We see 2 sacs in there. So my husband was like, the sex, are they identical? Blah, blah. He's like, no, it's too early. Like, hold on. It's too early. And he said, okay, we can start the antenatal. So we'll be coming every month. And then that's how it started. Well, he said it's only normal to see some spotting and, bleeding, light bleeding for multiple pregnancies. I think apparently he mentioned that the body is trying to get used to, the new development and all that. So there was no cause for alarm. Yes, that's what he said. So with the first pregnancy, it's quite emotional. I was very emotional, like crying every step of the way. And I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink water, like nothing. It was that bad to the extent, as at that time I was privileged enough because I was living with my mother-in-law. So she would want to ask me, Princess, what do you want to eat today? And I'm like, okay, maybe rice with fish stew. I can't be in the house whilst they prepare it because I'll puke and I wouldn't want to eat it anymore. It was that bad. So I'd have to be out of the house. They get my meal done. So when I come in, then I eat. And I would only take like 2 spoons. Then I'm okay. That's if I don't puke. My water has to be full of ice before I can hold it down. Even that, not too sure. So I was puking every step of the way. It wasn't just the first trimester. First, second, and third. So unfortunately, it was a terrible experience. They organized some antenatal classes, but I never attended any because my Dr. Bachman was like all in one. Because you go to see him, he will ask you if you have any questions, then I asked everything bothering me, how the process is going to be like. He was actually lecturing me himself, like every step of the way. So I felt like, okay, it's a great moment for me when I'm in there with him. So, but the hospital, as at that time, Dell Hospital, they were organizing some classes for the, pregnant women. But for me, all my sessions were amazing because he asked you, do you have any worries? Are you okay? What do you want to know? So I was privileged. No, I never exercised because I was too weak. I was too weak, too weak. I wake up in the morning, I'll vomit all day. They call it morning sickness. But one time I asked my doctor, like, why is it morning sickness, but I'm having it in the morning, afternoon, and evening? I was just too weak to do anything. Always indoors, trying to put myself together. Maybe I'll do a little bit of walking. That was actually my mother-in-law. She go like, Princess, come out of the room, you know, try and be active. So maybe I walk from the bedroom to the hall. That was basically it. Didn't do much exercise. I was 3 months, 2 weeks pregnant. And then I woke up one morning and I found out I had a strong, like very strong headache, which connected to the back, like my neck. It's like the pain was at the same time. So I was like, what's going on? So my husband was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, just go to work, I'll manage. But a few hours later, I found out I was getting feverish. There was no one at home. I couldn't like raise my head, nothing. So luckily my dad was in Accra and I called him and he was like, oh, I just passed your house. So let me come take you to the hospital. When he came, I was naked. I couldn't even pick myself up to dress up. So he got some dress and just put it on me and rushed me to my hospital. So they called my gynae, Dr. Bachman. He rushed, came in, did a few tests, and he was like, he's suspecting meningitis, but he's not too sure. So he's going to run one more test and confirm later. So I was on admission taking some IVs and stuff. And then he came and he's like, Princess, as at that time, my husband and my dad were around. So he told them that this is what is going on. I have meningitis. As at that time, I remember 2015, there was an outbreak and it happened with a few percentage of people and I happened to be one of them. For a pregnant woman, there were lots of medications and all the medications administered was to make sure the babies aren't affected. And I wasn't getting better. I stayed in a hospital almost 2 weeks. So my dad was like, no, let's get me out of here, look for a better. And Dr. Bachman was like, no, we'll take care of it. So one time he came to me and was like, okay, Princess, right now we have to choose you first. You matter, you have to be alive. So we're going to give you one of the strongest antibiotics that I'm certain will do you good, but we are not sure about the babies. But let's be positive. So they administered those IVs and they were painful. The moment they get in your system, you start feeling some pain in your body and all that. But 3 days after, I started getting better. So he came around, everyone was excited, but he was like, okay, here's the deal. We have to do a test, you know, like a scan to make sure babies are okay in there and they are breathing fine because the drugs were quite strong. So they took me in there and it was one of the nurses that did the, you know, that thing, I don't know if it's called the Doppler or something to check the sound. She wasn't hearing anything. So what she told me was, I don't think the baby survived. I was like, no way. That's when my spiritual life started. I'm a child of God. I'm supposed to take these 2 babies back home. When I have them, I won't allow it. So we called Dr. Bachman. He came and then he's like, okay, relax. He did a scan and babies were fine. Apparently heartbeats were very active and he's like, okay, we made it. So that's how we came through. On the day of delivery, funny enough, I didn't know. But around 32 weeks, my doctor said to me, okay, we're going to give you some shots to develop the lungs of the babies. Because looking at things, I think they will be early. So I was like, okay. But the day of labor, I was home. Actually, that day, I told my husband I didn't want to go for antenatal. Let's just go the following week. I'm tired because after all, he's going to do the same thing, check, they're okay, and blah, blah. He was like, no, get up, let's go. I was like, fine. In other news, he had packed my bags in the car a week before. And I was around 35 weeks, 2 days. So we went to the hospital and Dr. Bachman was like, hey, I look all swelled up. You know, it was that bad. My feet was swelling. I put my hand in my feet and it's like, it creates a hole. You know, it was like sometimes water coming out from my feet and stuff. But he was like, I think you're tired. And I said, yes. He's like, okay, let's do a scan. We did it and he realized one baby's heartbeat was very, very low. So he said, no, he doesn't want to risk it. Let's just have a C-section. And I was like, no, I'm not ready. He said, but you said you're tired. I said, no, I'm not ready. You let me go home and come tomorrow. He said, no, we're doing it. I was so nervous because that was my first time. And my husband happily went into the car, brought out my stuff. It's like, oh, you're ready. I'm like, yeah, he's been keeping my stuff in the car for like a week now. So luckily, hospital bag was packed. And preparing me for C-section, it was all like new to me. Then I started crying. So I have this particular brother I really love so much. He called me over the phone and was like, Sheila, you're going to be fine, okay? Don't be scared. Everything will be fine, okay? And so, will be okay? I was like, okay. And then we went into theater. But I don't know, it's strange how I hear so many stories and nobody talks about how painful the injection at the back is. Like, it's so painful. You know, you have to stay like that, not move before they hit your spine. I screamed, but I pulled through. So the moment they gave me the shot, I got numb, like waist down. They asked me to lie down. I did. And then the next thing, I just felt tugging and pushing, tugging and pushing. And I was like, okay, what is this? In a few minutes, baby A came out. It's a boy. He was so cute. He started crying. And then in a few minutes, baby B came out. It was a boy as well. And when they cleaned them up and brought them, I couldn't hold my tears because my husband had already started crying like a baby. So it's a great experience, and I pray every woman goes through it. When I saw them, I felt like, okay, these are mini-me's. I've always wanted to meet them, you know. So luckily, because of the shots, they didn't need any, though they were premature, like 35 weeks, 2 days, they didn't need any incubator, nothing. They were great for preemie babies, nothing. They were very fine. And I was privileged, very privileged to have a great doctor, Dr. Charles Bachman. He's amazing. So babies were doing fine. Mommy was doing fine. But the pain was very painful for the C-section pain, but I managed to pull through. I'm shy. Okay, so I was just being a good mother, taking care of my first set of twins on my own. And then one time, I started feeling funny as well, you know, though I did the morning after pills when it happened. But I was like, okay, let me just check if I'm pregnant because I'm showing signs. Babies were only 4 months. My twin boys were only 4 months. And I was positive. I was pregnant again. I was scared to call my mom. I remember when we went to the hospital, Dr. Bachman was like, Princess, you did it again and you're having another. I still see 2 gestational sacs. I'm like, funny enough, I cried. That day I wept, not tears of joy, nothing. I just felt some disappointment in me because we're already struggling, no sleep, nothing. Like our lives had come to a still and we were still having another set of twins when babies were only 4 months old. So he said to me, you can do this, though it's a shot. I said, no, what if I die? Because Google was doing me a lot of, you know, research like, okay, it's too early, so the chances of survival, blah, 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 all those stuff. Dr. Bachman was like, no, you're not going to get rid of it. We are doing it. You're going to be fine. We'll take care of you. I remember that's what he said. I I said, okay, let's do this. I was scared to tell my mom. My husband did. And she was like, Krasini, one go school. And then I was saying him to one go school da. Only calculations. That's just how it began. My mom is something else. Funny enough, there's something that I think babies are a blessing and they should be allowed to come whenever they want to, you know, without being criticized. What if the person has 6 kids? There's nothing wrong with it. God is actually giving them out. You get it? Because we nearly aborted the second pregnancy because of the critics, and it was crazy. And as at that time, my husband and I didn't have the means to accommodate 4 kids. So we nearly did the DNC. Then Bachman was like, no, you're doing it. We'll take care of you. It was emotional. So when we found out we're pregnant with the second set of twins, as I said earlier, I cried. Because we didn't know how we're going to do it. We're a young couple starting life. As at that time, we just had a 2-bedroom apartment. How are we going to take care of 4 kids all in a 2-bedroom apartment with a nanny, with, you know, and as at that time, we had 2 nannies, you know, so some were sleeping in the hall, and the boys weren't even sleeping at night. They weren't the kind of babies that would even sleep more than 20 minutes. But when the second set came through, I feel it was God. He knew what he was doing. He knew, okay, this is the number of kids I want to give you this particular time. You can do it. Because my husband and I looked around and we didn't know how we were going to do it. But each passing day, he provided in his own way. In terms of diapers, wipes, baby clothes. Somebody would just call you up. Oh, how are you guys doing? I send this money into your account. How are you guys doing? I brought clothes. I brought this. The gifts were excessively amazing, you know, and there were a lot of, you know, promotions and blessings in the life of my husband and I as at that time. So that's when we realized that, no, this is God. Because being pregnant when first set of twins were 4 months, it was crazy to find out you're having another set of twins. So that's how we've been able to do it till now. Just God all through. There was nothing like sleep. We never slept, especially because when the second set of twins came in, my boys were 11 months, you know, still ma da, you know, they weren't sleeping. So what we did was we vacated the bedroom, created a bedroom in the hall. Then at night, all 4 of us, like all 4 of the kids will be on the bed we created. Hubby on the other side, me on the other side. Then the nannies, we had 2 nannies, then they'll be in the room. So if we need their attention, like if it's that bad, we call them from the room to help. So it's like an all night, all through, no sleep. Baby A is up. You're trying to keep the other 3 asleep. Then B, C, D up. Time to feed. Time to change diapers. I used to break down in the middle of the night and just start crying. And I can say God gave me a good partner. He'd rub my back and tell me, Sheila, it's okay. We're going to be fine. I'm like, no, how are we supposed to go through this? This is not fair. We're too young. You know, I used to cry a lot. I did fall into some postpartum depression. Because there are days I woke up, I didn't want to see the babies. I didn't want to have anything to do with them. So my mom decided to come, you know, to Accra because she lives in Kumasi. Then my mother-in-law also decided to join in. So what happened was they decided to help us in the day. Then in the night, hubby and I would take over. So that's how we're doing it, little by little, little by little. Then we are here. Postpartum depression started for me right after I had the second set. Because it was very unfortunate, but you know when you have a first baby, everybody's around. Wow. But the second, I felt like everybody had just rejected me. My mom wasn't interested as at that time. And stuff like that. She was just being a mother. Well, and as at that time, she had arthritis. She had to have a surgery, so I understand her pain, you know. So the moment I left hospital with a second set of twins, that's when I felt it started. Because when I got home, I broke down and I wept that day. Because seeing the little boys come up to me, mommy, mommy, they hadn't seen me like 3 days, and babies were still crying. All four started crying at the same time. I'm like, okay, what kind of welcome is this? So that's when it just started, because I was just crying in between minutes. There were days I'll just drop, you know, what I'm doing, sit down, and I'm not interested. I wouldn't want to talk to anybody. I wouldn't talk to my husband. Then he started calling pastors to come talk to me. You know, I didn't even want to take care of myself, my body, nothing. I was just there, you know, but I feel God came through for me. That's how I snapped out of it. One day I just woke up and I'm like, no, they are my responsibilities. I have to be there for them. No matter how hard it is, God knew I could do it. That's why he gave them to me. So I would say prayer sorted me out of the postpartum depression. Funny enough, all four did great. They all met their milestones at the right time. You know, with the first set of twins, they started crawling. I can't remember, but they started walking properly when they were 10 months, like walking when they were 10 months. And I feel God had to make it happen that way because there was another batch coming in, you know. They were just walking everywhere, doing what they had to do. And suddenly when the second set came in, I felt like they became big brothers, you know. They were making life a little bit, you know, easier for us. And the second set too tagged along pretty well. I think it was a blessing. All of them did what they had to do at the right time, and there was no stress. Okay, so for the first set of twins, that's the boys. As at that time, we had like a smaller car, so it was myself, my husband, the boys, and 2 nannies. So we'd all squeeze ourselves into one car and go to the hospital to get them their shots. I remember the 6 weeks, you know, 6 weeks, they get some shots. It was quite stressful. They run temperature. They cried all through the night. I remember baby B, that's Terry, he didn't even close his eyes throughout the night. He was crying non-stop. I felt like, okay, let's take him back to the hospital. But my mom was like, oh, he's gonna be fine. It was very stressful. And I remember whenever it's time for us to go for the weigh-in, I'm always like dragging my feet because it's tiring. We have to pack everything, make sure we haven't forgotten, you know, this and that. And funny enough, we always get to the hospital and we realize we've forgotten something, which is normal, you know. So we tried, we pulled through. But the circumcision, I cried. My boys, we had a home service, you know. She was a nurse from 37. So she came home, she did it. Funny enough, I got a prayerful woman. She prayed, mentioned some, you know, Bible verses, dedicated them to God, and the process began. But I couldn't look at it. It was just my husband, because I felt the pain for the boys, you know. And I was wondering, can't they just do without it? But no, it's not possible. Left to me, I'll just carry them, hide them somewhere. No, we are not doing it. But we had to be careful, put the, was it olive oil on it, like every diaper change. I was extra careful, just making sure I protect their territory. And the second set is actually a boy and a girl. So it was just a boy that had to go through it. And with that, I was able to be there for him because, I mean, experienced. He went through pain, but it wasn't bad. We used the ring method for all of them, so we pulled through. So the boys, the first set of twins, I was trying to do breastfeed them, maybe in between. This one gets breastfed and the next one takes the formula. But when I found out I was pregnant when they were only 4 months, I had to stop breastfeeding. So we started with the NAN, later moved to Aptamil till they were 6 months. Then we started a little bit of the porridge, the rice cereal, Tom Brown, the oats, the blended ones. But when you have when you have new babies, you tend to spoil them. So we're doing a lot of Heinz foods, rice pudding, the cream porridge, blah blah blah. Then my mom was like, "Hey, we'll be fufu." So after that, I was like, "No, at least take it easy on them." She's like, "No." So she started with like soft banku when they were like 7 months there, and maybe a little bit of fufu with soup with less pepper. But the boys really ate well. I don't know if it's because they were boys, but each time they eat, I'm happy. They really used to conquer the food, like eat really well. Anything in their mouth, they are good. Yeah, but the second set we struggled for some reason because the girl is a fussy eater till now. But we pulled through with the milk. The second set also had breast milk with a touch of formula from like the 1st to 6th month. Then from there we started with the solids, little by little. Before I didn't have any plan for them. Just wake up in the morning and then we move as the day goes. But it really started getting challenging when my mom had to leave with her nanny. The woman apparently is like a friend to her, so they just came to help. So it was just me, my husband, and a little girl that was helping. So that time I faced it, and hubby had to go back to work. I faced it. All 4 of them will cry at the same time, and my help was just some little girl. It's not all the time that everybody will be around you to help. But I had to push through it because imagine feeding all 4 at the same time, changing nappies, getting them to rest, and I was doing a lot of reading online. Then I realized, no, I have to set out a timetable for them. Okay, so they wake up, they shower by 8, they take their bath at 8, they get fed, time for them to have a play. I just started organizing things myself, but it was quite hard, but I could say the challenge started when my mom had to leave with her friend. It was almost like I was taking care of quadruplets because they were almost the same, but we pulled through. It's not all the time everything went on as planned, but we managed. So all the privileges that came with being a twin mom, double twin mom, it's like wherever I go and I mention, okay, I have 2 sets of twins, it's like some extra kind of vibe, excitement. I always feel that as very special, and it makes me feel proud as a mother and pushes me to do more for my kids. So it's just being recognized as a double twin mom. It's a lot of beauty all in one. It's just it. My husband is a great man. When it comes to taking care of the kids, even till now, I quite remember my sister-in-law came visiting with her boys. She has 3 boys. And then within 2 days, they just adapted to how my husband was training our kids around the house and all. So my nanny told me, she's like, when the kids hear my husband honk, they go my sister-in-law's kids go "Mo papa eba, mo behu." He's very strict but lovely. My kids respect him. They know, okay, it's playtime, it's time to sleep, it's time to go to bed, it's time to do your homework, and they adjust. But if my husband is not around, everything I say, oh, my kids are not bothered. Time to sleep? No. But if daddy is coming, everywhere is scattered. Everybody has to do what they have to do. So my husband, he's an amazing man, and I'm blessed to have him. So the first thing I want to say is, as an expectant mother, no, let's take that again. I'm trying to say that, when you're pregnant, sometimes though you listen to whatever the doctor has to say, you as a mother, you have to get to a point where you have to ask questions yourself. Find out, how is it going to be like? What is it going to be like? Because sometimes most of us just go with the flow. Doctors are very busy people. So you don't expect them to do as you want all the time. And you also have to read more when you're expecting the things you feel are going wrong. Report every single thing. Even if you feel you're being a bother to the doctor, it doesn't matter. That's why he's there. Every little sign you notice, every symptom, just report it. It's better to let them know this is what you're going through than to just keep it in. It's gonna cause a problem for you later. You understand? So enjoy the process and ask questions every step of the way. That's all I can say, because it's going to help you and your baby at the end of the day.
This video was brought to you by Amalena Children's Haven.